Good evening, everyone. Hello to all those who have just joined in. We're going to start the session shortly. Our topic for today is the experience of empowered single women, and we're celebrating Mother's Day with a difference. And I'm just going to be adding our guests soon. We're going to be having our guests joining in soon. Please hang in there while we start the session. We're scheduled to start at just about 8, and I have invited our guest experts, guest speakers for the session. They're just going to be joining in a bit.
I, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Yes. No, I can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Right. Okay. So we'll just wait in for Ghazal to join in as well.
No.
Yeah, hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Ghazal, hi. We can hear you
Okay,
and we can see you too now.
all right, great. So, yes,
Let's get Yes, let's get started. First of all, thank you so much for sparing your time to be with us here today on this very important topic that we're going to discuss, which is the experiences of empowered single women. So, to our audience, I'd just like to say that we're here to celebrate Mother's Day with a difference in a unique way, for a change, to celebrate and to honor the lives of single women, right? And I'm so glad to be on this panel moderating with these two exceptionally passionate and strong women, Fharzana, Siraj, and Ghazal, Raina. Once again, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Varsha, for having us here.
Most welcome. And I must tell you that these are women with an iron will, because they've chosen to excel in fields that were quite unconventional, at least when they started off. And with this, let me just quickly introduce the both of them to you. So Fharzana Siraj, who is the founder of Orange Ray Wellness Centers in Chennai, provides alternative therapies like Ayurveda, yoga, homeopathy, acupuncture. She's also into nutrition and counseling to treat patients. She utilizes a very individualized approach to yoga therapy, which draws upon her wealth of experience and knowledge in treating patients with chronic health issues over the years. She's been practicing yoga from the age of 13, which is commendable. And she's learned under some of the greats like BK Iyengar, right? She is an MD from the Indian Board of Alternative Medicine, and she's also an MSc in yoga. So I think that being said, a lot of credibility to who you are, Fharzana. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Yes. And Ghazal Raina, who also lives in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, has used her own life experience of divorce and alienation to start this amazing initiative, Milap, which is a social support group for non-custodial parents and families. So this was started in 2019, and she's been quite an activist of co-parenting. She's also founded several other groups and forums for separated families because they go through so much trauma, especially in a society like ours, which is very mixed and has several views and a lot of judgmentalism, going on in India, right? She champions co-parenting causes and really believes that there has to be a huge shift in the way people see alienation. So this is primarily why we're here. She also frequently writes on topics of parent and women, single parent alienation, custody, healing, provides support for divorced families. In her professional life, she heads corporate social responsibility for an MNC bank, right? Thank you so much, Ghazal, for being with us.
thank you, Varsha. Thank you for that warm introduction. And really happy and fortunate to share this space with Fharzana. So, couldn't have asked for a better person because she's so in sync and been such a strong champion for Milap. So, really happy to share this space with her.
Thank you,
Right.
guys. I'm really happy, especially on this occasion of Mother's Day. I'm a mother myself, deal with so many mothers, understand the pangs of mothers, the angst of mothers, and I think it couldn't have been. So, a big thank you to hellomyyoga also to provide this platform for us.
Yes,
Can
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's a wonderful initiative. And to me personally, I feel, empowerment really comes from asking for support, from seeking help, from using all the resources that you can, versus trying to do everything on your own and trying to struggle your way up. And I think you ladies are doing a fantastic job at, really helping people mold into the best versions that they can be. So with this, I would like to ask the first question. Maybe I'll have Fharzana take it up. Since you've been into yoga therapy and you've worked with several single moms, also with Ghazal's organization. So could you tell us what has been your primary observation in such cases? What kind of healing therapy do they need?
See, basically, I feel somewhere as a general, today's woman has taken up too much on herself. And I don't know why. I mean, we are trying to be good at work. We want to run the house. We want to even be single moms, or if we don't have we want to do it all. And somewhere I feel, maybe we are trying to prove something because of years and years and years of patriarchy. We are trying to prove to whom that, we can do it all. I mean, people glorify women and they say, oh, you know what, she's a multitasker, she can do this. But why do we need to multitask all the time is my question. Why are we proving constantly to people that, look, we are good, and why do we need everyone's validation all the time? So, I mean, in this whole, endeavor, I feel we are really bashing ourselves. We are trying to, sometimes I feel, see, even a working woman, you see, she has to come back home and do some stuff. You can't be like working in India, especially. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that the husband comes and gives you equal support in the house. It doesn't happen. So I sometimes feel that why do we take on this dual role? For what joy? But we are out there to prove, what, I'm strong. And somewhere I think it's become very convenient now for the men that, okay, aapko aage jana hai, jaiye, or do everything. I'm going to relax. So this same thing is happening with single moms also. So I feel that they are taking too much on themselves, not only physically, financially, and emotionally, because it's not easy to don two hats, right? You are trying to play the role of a father, you're trying to play the role of the mother. You have to go and win your bread, earn your bread. You have to come back home and be there for your child all the time, go to his school where all school functions are there, sports day is there. So you're trying to do them. What are you doing in the process? You don't have a life at all. And believe me, I have seen so much guilt with mothers around that, and in this guilt, what they tend to do is they overcompensate.
Right.
So I mean, in every way you see, from every angle, who is the person who's getting hurt the most? The mother, the single mother. So somewhere I think mothers need to draw a line for themselves.
True. That is so true. Yeah, while I wouldn't want to put a blanket statement that no, maybe not all husbands don't come and help, but yes, I think it's been the case for the longest time.
Help,
Yeah.
maid in
Yes,
the house.
absolutely. Yeah, we can almost generalize it. Yeah, true. So the next question for you, Ghazal, how does this kind of alienation or maybe single parenthood really affect all the parties involved? It's not just about the single mom, but I think it's so much also about the child, what they go through, and even the other spouse who might be living with the child or otherwise. So
Right.
could you just help us understand the dynamics of a dysfunctional family?
Right. So first of all, I just want to, deliberate a little bit about what alienation is. Not many people know about it. I didn't realize I was going through alienation till I started to really want to know and understand what was happening in my family. And that's the time I found out that the definition of alienation is the willful and sometimes very unconscious complete removal of one parent from the child's life, right? And it's a phenomena which happens across the world. It's a phenomena which happens across sections of society. In the West, people are talking a lot more about it. In India, it is just about started. Now, why this happens? A lot of people want to understand, how can it be that one parent is taken away, right? So maybe, that parent has they've lost that parent. In those cases, there is sadness, there is grief, but there is a sort of a closure there, that that parent doesn't exist. There are some happy memories, and the child has also enjoyed that, that spouse also enjoys that. But there is another extreme side to alienation, which is what happens and is happening with a lot of families which go through separation and divorce. Now, very rarely do families come together to say, look, it wasn't working. Couples come together to say it wasn't working. I don't think we are great together as a couple. Let's just go our ways, but let's do our best for our children. But that's how it's supposed to be, right? So, because you already agreed not to be together and carry that conflict further, but it happens just the opposite. And you have an ego war, you have a legal war, you have a social war going on, where both parties are trying to pull not towards the child but against the child, right? So there is a stretch that happens. Now, a lot of cases, the law gives mothers the natural custodial rights over a child, right? Especially if the children are of a certain age. And the truth is that a large number of children are now in our country not able to enjoy a healthy relationship with both the parents. One parent is completely being cut off, whether it is access, whether it is financial support, social support, moral support from the life of the child. Now, when this happens, it's not just that one parent who's missing. Now, when you look back at our childhood, our lives, it's also a plethora of relationships. Your dadi, nani, dada, dadi, mama, cousins, the functions, the celebrations, the festivals, all of those are mercilessly cut out from a child's life. And what are the children being told? That this parent never loved you, this parent is out to harm you, this parent is going to damage you. So the child starts to ask, hey, what about all the memories that I had of that parent? You know, I spent those years growing up. Because the need is to cut the child off, the child is told, no, all of that was a lie. That never existed. That parent, the other parent, is here to just kill you, damage you, hurt you, molest you. And you can imagine what happens to the mind and the heart of a child when they hear that everything that they enjoyed and the love that they enjoyed from one of their parents was a lie. This is child abuse. This is a severe form of abuse which the WHO accepts, but the world doesn't know. The world doesn't know because parents like me, parents those who are on Milap, find it extremely tough to come up and say, this is what I'm going through. Right. Because it is such a stigma, I think it's easier to probably say I'm divorced, but it's very tough to say my children are not willing to be with me, not willing to even take my call or answer a WhatsApp message. This is the state of more than 80% of families going through divorce and separation. This is the current hard reality.
Well, I think with that, a very natural question that comes up to my mind is that I think these families, particularly the alienated or the estranged parent, in most cases, you know, like it could very well be the father, in some cases the mother. I'm sure they deal with a lot of stress, self-esteem issues, guilt, even lack of clarity, confusion, right? So Fharzana, in these cases, what exactly does therapy have to offer, a holistic therapy and maybe yoga in particular? If you could just throw some light on it.
Yeah, sure, Varsha. So as you correctly said, there are a lot of emotions, a feeling of desertion for the alienated parent, okay, and feeling of there's so many feelings like why me, why I was alienated from my child, or if it is a single mom doing it's too much of responsibility. So there's a lot of trauma attached to it. Okay, now we've always seen it that whenever there is a lot of trauma, the result is a chronic trauma. It shows on your body as well. It's not limited to your emotion. Okay? And especially alternate believes that we yoga we believe that there are 5 sheets for human body. Okay, the 5 sheets are Annamaya Kosha, the koshas as we call it, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandmaya Kosha. Now, basically, whenever there is a disease, it starts at the mind, which is the Manomaya. So whenever, so how is it starting? It starts with an emotion or a feeling. What is the difference between emotion and a feeling? Emotion is something you feel sad. Okay, sad. And if I stay too long with sadness,
Just a minute, Fharzana. Ghazal, if you can just mute yourself and maybe
Yeah,
for a
sorry,
bit.
I had some issue with my headphone.
No problem. Yes. Sorry, Fharzana. Please continue.
if you're with an emotion for too long a time, your mind starts telling you, okay, why you are sad? Oh, this person did this to you. This person is not nice. Or they are deliberately ignoring you. Or they're deliberately mean to you. So you start thinking, you start developing a perspective to that emotion. And that is what is called a feeling. When you stay in that feeling for too long, what happens? Your personality changes, and then it starts percolating from the Manomaya Kosha through the Pranamaya Kosha to your Annamaya Kosha, that is your body. And that's how disease comes. So we've seen that, we've seen back pain. Hips as a very, very important place where emotions lie. Okay. And hips don't.
They store, I think,
Yes,
pent
it
up
does.
emotion, right?
Absolutely. So you see that, and then sorry to say, but a lot of breast cancer cases happen where children are involved because somewhere the breast is associated with the child. That's where the child finds its nurturing, right? So there are a lot of trauma with the breast. So I've seen is resulting in breast cancer as well. So when people come to us, as I said, we not only look at what is showing on the outer cell, that is the body, but we have to trace it back and go to the roots as to where it started, and that's where we start questioning, and then we come back to, okay, this happened years back or 20 years back, and so on and so forth. So yoga is a mind body science, and it's really helpful in treating these kind of issues.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Fharzana. I think that really was important to deal with disease, trauma, and stress at different levels of our consciousness. And I think yoga is one of the sciences, one of the few sciences that provide this as a therapy, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, Ghazal, my next question to you, this could, spark a little bit of controversy, maybe to some people. It definitely takes a mature audience to to probably take this on. So, what I feel is that many times these days we see single parents taking on this badge very proudly, and I find it a little strange because somehow I feel you need both parents to bring up a child and for the child to bloom to its full potential. So somehow I feel we have sort of taken this too strongly, like I can do it all. And and also it especially when people put it on social media, it sometimes sends a wrong message to those who are struggling and finding their path. What is your take on it?
Yeah, it is a very controversial topic which is inviting a lot of debate. I do notice the same, and this is coming probably very recently about people wearing the single parent badge very proudly on themselves. And now, this is where I'm not challenging people, the people who are listening in. I'm just asking them to look at it very slightly different. Just shift your perspective a little bit. Now, I won't say there is no right or wrong answer here, because the whole uh, the way nature works, if you look at any other species as well, is when two species of opposite gender, or I mean, I'm not generalizing here. There are a lot of, I mean, I'm not getting into the science of it. Is when two species come together and procreate, right? So that means that there is a role that each one of them have to play. One is in the whole conception process. Second is in the nurture phase. Now, that entire process itself, or the need to have a certain environment for a child is being challenged. It's being challenged by this need that I do not need the traditional ways of nurturing anymore for my child. Whether it's a father or a single father or a single mother. Uh, a lot of times I often tell people that when there is another parent available in the life of the child, then and is available, meaning not just available on paper, but available to love and nurture and take the responsibility. How come the tag single parent applies to you? You could be single, but not a single parent because there is another parent. So I really want people to use the word co-parent because
Absolutely.
there is a lot of pressure, like Fharzana said. There's a lot of pressure that we are taking on and saying that I can do it myself. Yes, we can. We have the capability. I think the intention comes from wanting to normalize our lives and the lives of our children by saying nothing has happened. Don't worry, everything is fine. We are still doing holidays. We are still going out. We are still a happy family. And yes, the definition of the family has changed a little bit. But if you ask the children, they'll still want both parents. Maybe not in one house, but in their life. So that is, I really want to urge everybody who's listening in to shift their perspective. And like you said, it takes a lot of wisdom and maturity to say, yes, this spouse wasn't really an amazing spouse for me, but can be still a great parent for my child. And of course, there are reasons where the other parent, whether it's a father or a mother, are actually harmful for the children. And we all know that only the law defines those categories. So apart from that, in whatever measure, little more hugely, children really need both.
Absolutely. I completely agree with what you said, Ghazal. It requires a lot of maturity on both the parents to, allow it's okay. The spouse didn't work for me as a spouse, this person, but why should he or she can be a great father or a mother? And why
Yes.
should I be a child from that, instead
You know,
of that
a
selfish
lot of
know?
absolutely, Fharzana. A lot. I just wanted to say, a lot of celebrities who are co-parenting have been trolled very terribly, and they do the right thing, they get trolled. They do the wrong thing, they get trolled. So so it's be damned both ways. But I really appreciate those who are coming up and saying, look, we are even dating other people in relationships with other people, but we are coming together for our children. And I think those positive cases and positive champions of co-parenting is what we at Milap we are continuously bringing to the fore, people who are able to do this. So we do a lot of sessions. We get people who are able to co-parent. We get people who are right now having blended families. Now that's a strong fear in a lot of people, that I don't think I can or should get into another legal formal marriage, because what happens to the children? They'll never accept us. So in India, it is very difficult, but we bring such people to the front, to the fore, to these meetings to say, look, it is a lot of work, but it is possible. So I appreciate, I mean, celebrities who talk about co-parenting, and I really wish that we are able to change this nomenclature that we have adopted, which is not correct.
Right, right. I love how you brought in the positive connotation, Ghazal, of how, blended families are now coming to be. And we have, I think, in recent times seen celebrity kids, because I think somehow in that world, it's a little more common where we see a lot of breakups, or at least it's brought to the highlight by the media. And I think kids who have been co-parented, definitely we see them doing way better, although they might have dealt with their own bit of trauma, but nevertheless, yes. So I'm going to be asking a few questions, and I would invite both of you to take it up either way. So I know that a big part of all of this comes from, not being able to forgive the other person right away. It's a I think it's a process of years. And I think, like Buddha puts it, we just finished the Buddha Purnima. He says, not being able to forgive someone, it's like holding a hot rod in your hand and you get burnt yourself. So we might want to do it for ourselves than for others. And Ghazal, when you were speaking, I just felt that sometimes I think many people want to wear this co-parenting badge to validate the amount of effort and strain and struggle that is taken to single-handedly, parent the child. So, wearing a proud badge somehow feels, validation to your effort. So what do you have to talk about forgiveness? How do you help people, move on?
Yeah, that's a very beautiful point, very important point, and a part of probably almost everybody's journey who goes through a breakup relationship, whether it's marriage or another relationship. Um, you're absolutely right. A lot of people want to force the badge of single parenting just to prove that the other parent is a bad parent, and I'm the one doing everything. And that was also my contention with the movie Mrs. Norway versus, that movie Norway versus Mrs. Chatterjee, right? Is that there was absolutely no mention of how the other parent was contributing. This whole uh, this whole ethos of co-parenting has gone beyond the gender. While while I mentioned that there are a lot more fathers who are going through alienation, but it is also a fact that there are a lot of mothers who are also experiencing alienation. Um, Before I go on to the forgiveness part, I also wanted to speak about the fact that it it has taken me 10 years to speak on Mother's Day about motherhood, but not break up into a million pieces. And
Oh, I wish I could give you a big hug
Yeah,
right now.
just
Yeah,
trying to show. Yes,
yeah,
hugs.
we feel the pain. Yes.
and 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 I think it is the art of forgiveness which I have gradually learned to imbibe in not just towards my ex-spouse or towards my child, but towards a lot of other people. Forgiveness is not just a one-way door that you open towards one direction, that is north or south. You have to open it towards everybody. Uh, a lot of people are not able to co-parent because of a lack of forgiveness in towards their ex. Not able to realize that the forgiveness or the anger that they are holding is the anger and the disappointment and the expectations crashing of their marital life, not so much the parental life. And that's where the lines get merged and get blurred to the point of a lot of pain and grief for both the children as well as the families. Because, like you beautifully said, that the Buddha said that forgiveness, you're holding on to a coal and expecting the other person to burn. And this ability to never forgive is held on by people so much so that it trickles down to their children, and children also learn never to forgive, whether it starts with an ex, it starts with their other parent, but it goes on to other parts of their life. It's like a blotting paper. One drop of anger and hatred and resentment is going to spread to all parts of your life. So I just want to urge everyone who's listening in to think about this, that your children are not going to compartmentalize this anger and hatred only towards one parent. It is going to spread to their other parts of their life. And we really don't want our children to go through that held on pain. So just think deeply whether you really want your child to hate the other parent.
Yes. So I think we're up with 30 minutes, but I think it's a really interesting conversation, and I'd just like to ask a few more questions.
Was asked.
Yeah, because I think those who are not able to stick on to the live, they can always watch it later on once we have the video saved and up on the feed. So yes, I think another thing that we see is that children who are living with, say, a single parent, whoever it may be, do you feel that in some way they get biased to, the same gender maybe, or the traits of that parent? Like any such issues that come up that you see commonly
Yeah,
in such children?
I'll go first, Fharzana.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's a very layered question. It's very it's very complicated. I don't like to use that word complicated, but it is very complicated because there is a lot of research being done on how children are responding to parents when they are not living, the parents are not living together. Mm-hmm. And the child realizes that the parent that I'm living with is not happy at all with me visiting, or sort of my time with the other parent. Mm. And invariably, there is a phenomena in which this child wants to please the parent whom they are staying with, and so they start faking or believing that they don't like the other parent. It is something which is very, very deeply researched, and the findings are very shocking. It's there are a lot of parents who say that no, Ghazal, we don't stop our children from wanting to see the other parent, but the children don't want to at all, and I have never stopped them. But you need to ask yourself why. Right. We need to really understand that if there is another parent available to love and nurture you, unless of course there is something deep, dark and dangerous, why would the child not want to be pampered and loved? Right. So there's a very delicate underplay, a sea of emotions in the children at every age that they go through. So I think the maturity lies in being able to understand what's really happening with my child. My emotions are my emotions, I'll keep it aside. I will deal with them. I need to heal from them. But what is really happening in my child for them to develop such intense emotions or anger towards one parent? So
yes,
that's my like a simple take on this. Fharzana?
See, what I feel that maybe sometimes what happens, as you said, like you said, that the parent may not be even stopping the child, that don't go and see the other parent, but somewhere the child feels I'm going to be disloyal to the parent whom I'm living with. I going and visit the other parent. That's what the child thinks.
Yeah, they take on a lot of load themselves as well.
I'm thinking if I go, they are not staying together. They are not happy with each other. So if I go and even this, my parent whom I'm living with, I'm being disloyal to that person, and he's the one or she's the one looking after me. So my loyalties lie here. So this is something which they tell themselves. But then, yes, a mature parent will go out of the way to explain that even if you go there, you are not being disloyal to me, and fine. Work out a system, where the things are divided, like say today I will pick the child from school, tomorrow you pick up from school, so things like that, so one doesn't have to play the martyr, like as we discussed, one parent, that okay, I'm doing everything physically, financially, emotionally, time wise, so they divide their duties, weekends, holidays, things like that, and if they can find that, I think it's the proper solution to this kind of co-parenting.
I absolutely agree. I think, in fact, the parent that has the custody has an additional and a very great responsibility to kind of provide that extra cushion to the child so that they don't take upon this load.
Yeah, sorry to intervene, but again here, let me also bring one more factor into consideration. Sometimes the other parent, we don't know, may not be very, though they may have anger issues, they may be a little violent with the child and things like that. So that also is something we must consider, because why is the child not wanting to go to that parent?
True.
Because the other parent is frustrated, or maybe he's alcoholic or she's an alcoholic, or some substance abuse or whatever, and the child is not feeling safe. So that is also one thing which we have to see. Respect the feeling of the child. It shouldn't be that, oh, no, you have to go to the other parent, whatever happens. It shouldn't be like that either. So I think there's
Right.
a lot of, yeah, I mean, one needs to really find out at what's going on, instead of just being, every situation is different. There shouldn't be just like one blanket, answer for this. Every family is different. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think Ghazal also did cover that when she said that I think unless there are any legal matters at play or there's any danger by the other
Yeah.
parent, then
Yeah.
yeah,
Because sometimes
otherwise.
they don't come up and say everything what they feel, but we need to little interrogate them, go a little deeper and find out why is this child not comfortable going to that parent? What's happening there?
Yes, yes, yes. We need to dig deeper in. Yeah. So a broader question now, which may not be, just to confined to this whole idea of say divorces, separation, or single parenthood, but in general, when I think people go through tragedy, then they go through kind of they're subjected to distress for like long periods of time, and when this happens they could become a potential threat to the society. So Farzana, have you come across people like this, and how does your organization, your center, help prevent such scenarios?
So you well, I understand this better, Varsha. You're trying to tell me that people who have been under chronic stress and chronic trauma, they themselves become,
Yes,
what?
they could
Uh,
become a potential threat to the society, or sometimes their families or themselves for that matter. So
so I feel will threat in the way I think see basically a person who's undergone a lot of trauma. Uh, I mean, there is a lot of research done. For example, if somebody as a child has been abused, when they grow old, they themselves become abusers.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
yes, so there is research done. It's kind of very
It's a very
strange.
revenge
Yes.
syndrome kind of a.
And here I would like to share a very small story with you because
Yeah.
this is just for people. It's all about perspective, how you take your trauma. So there was this interview, like how we are doing one today, where a celebrity, a business magnate, a baron was invited along with his twin brother. And
Mhm.
this twin brother was a good for nothing person, okay, in the sense that he was an alcoholic, is wild away his life, nothing he had done where work was concerned, but he was the brother of this amazing guy who was like so powerful and successful. So that's why he was invited. So the first question when the interviewer asked this twin brother who was alcoholic was, how did you become an alcoholic whereas your brother is such a successful businessman? And this twin brother said, what else can you expect of me? I've always seen my father, who was an alcoholic from since a child. So he was an alcoholic. I'm also an alcoholic. What else do you expect from me? And then
Mhm.
the interviewer turned to the successful guy and asked him, how come you became so successful? And he said the same reason. My father was an alcoholic and I decided that's not what I ever want to be.
True,
You know,
true.
it's the same
See the
inspiration.
I think it's
Source of inspiration is same, but we
yeah.
decide what. So I would like to say that, with people who've undergone trauma should work on themselves, get themselves healed, seek professional help. And yes, forgiveness is a very important component of this healing process. We are forgiving, we are not forgetting. We're not asking anyone to forget the pain or forget what you have, but forgiving, because when you forgive, you first are good to your own self. Heal there. That's the first step in the ladder of healing. So definitely one has to look and not become a prey. I mean, we don't want to end up, the victim should not become like the, perpetrator later on in life.
Yeah.
So that is something one has to look for.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think you put it really well, Farzana. Is there anything you'd like to add, Ghazal? I think we've been losing you in between.
Yes, sorry. I think it's Murphy's Law. I never have network issues, but today while doing the live, so
Oh,
I
what
think
had to go wrong?
it's always testing your the universe is always testing you how you'll respond in times of stress, right? So I think very apt for the situation. Um, there is no doubt about the fact that when you go through a life experience like which is separation or divorce, it does cause a lot of stress.
Now, how an individual handles it, how resilient they are, how resilient they become, is a matter of the experiences that how they want to experience what has happened to them. A lot of people want to never let go of the anger, because it will mean that you are actually allowing the other person to go scot-free. That is the definition of hatred and resentment that they hold.
Yeah,
I mean, how can I
becomes
forgive
their
that
identity
person?
over time, I guess,
Yes.
right?
So if I sort of become a good term, then that means I'm just sort of okaying what the other person has done. That doesn't have to be. You don't even have to be in touch with someone whom you've forgiven. So it is an inner process rather than an external process. You don't have to go seek
100.
forgiveness, that other person to see to come write a letter and tell you, look, please forgive me. All of that can never ever happen. If you look at the lives of the Fharzana, the example she was giving, such a beautiful story. I also read, very moved by the contrast that both the brothers said. There are case studies of people who are survivors of the Nazi camp and who have actually come on board in talks and spoken about forgiving people who were their perpetrators. How does someone ever forgive someone who is killed and murdered their entire family? Because they said that we didn't want to live with the burden. And that's the
Right.
healing work that we need to do. Since we are talking about, single moms, we're talking about motherhood, I also want to now don the hat of a woman here, because a lot of times I feel under pressure, because I need to speak for both genders, right? Being part of the group, I also need to support men,
Absolutely.
because
So
I
glad you
don't
said that,
want to
Ghazal.
become
Yes.
I don't want to become a movement about women, because the cause is far more greater than what my gender is, which I was born with. But I do want to tell women that they are naturally gifted and endowed with a lot of qualities of compassion, empathy, grace, balance, wisdom. I'm not saying that they are better than men, because there may be other men who are better than this, but these are naturally gifted qualities in them. And the world wouldn't have been able to survive if we did not have people who were able to balance, to forgive, to bring
Yeah, we need the
grace and
yin
beauty
and the
into
yang.
this.
We need the, yeah. In
Absolutely.
fact, in
So,
Hatha Yoga, they say we need the ha and the tha. So,
yes. So, it's an appeal to everyone that the women like qualities that you have, use them to find your inner peace. To
true,
be a
true.
single
That
mom,
is so
which could be because of circumstance, or whether it is something that was forced upon you. Find your inner peace and give that to yourself. I think that's far more precious than probably jewelry or shopping or buying anything else. So gift yourself that inner peace, which is not dependent on anybody else.
right. Right. To summarize, I think because we lost you a bit there, Ghazal, and there was a little mumbling. But I think what Ghazal was trying to say is to embrace your natural energies or qualities, whether feminine or masculine, and really use it to support yourself and shine. Right. I think that's what you were saying. Yeah. So before we take questions from the audience, yeah, one just sort of, this is a question, the answer to which can be just left very open ended, I guess. Right. So now we've seen, like divorces weren't common in our country for the longest time, and I think a lot of people just lived with suffocated marriages for several decades. But over the past decade or so, we've been seeing this shift, and I think people have chosen to move on. So A is the evolution of separation and how people deal with it. And for therapists who are here, because hellomyyoga is very much a platform for yoga teachers, yoga therapists. We also have Fharzana going to be taking a course soon on emotional healing. So I'd like you to address that point, how it has evolved over the years and how therapists can sort of keep an eye out for trends that are changing. Yeah. So maybe if you can start with it, Fharzana, and then.
Yeah, so as you rightly said, that people have been living in suffocated marriage for decades. It could be societal pressure, it could be their parental pressure, and at last they are able to take certain decisions. And I think the biggest reason for that is economic independence.
Yeah.
So today's woman is much more economic independent than she
could just be even a personality type.
Yes, and that is one very important reason to to have the courage to step out of a marriage, because before it was like "Tu kahan jayegi? Tu kahan jayegi, beta?" Even the sass used to say that, "Kahan jayegi, beta?" As if that was the only place in the entire universe which was for her. So I think that now that question has become inconsequential, and women know, and they know that they can earn and they can do things for themselves. Uh, that is, but at the same time, I mean, I don't want that scenario. I mean, at least I don't envisage for myself a scenario where you decide to walk out at the silliest, smallest reason, So marriage is an institution which, like any other relationship, needs to be worked on every single day of your life. Okay, you can't just say that, okay, I'm married now, and then you just have to love me and I have to love you, and that's it, and they lived happily ever after. It's no. So we are going to have our differences. We are going to think differently, behave differently, respond differently. Obviously, I mean, I tell my patients, do you think exactly as your mom? They say, no. I said, come on, but you were in her womb for 9 months and she's brought you up and you don't think this is no. Then how do you expect to think the same as your spouse? It's not possible. But the idea of marriage is to accept your differences and still be able to do things for each other with love and respect. I think
to agree
love
to disagree.
Yeah, agree to disagree with love and respect. Because I see sometimes in spouses, they do love each other, but the respect, especially in Indian marriages, is missing. The respect
That
part
is so important because it gives you a lot of self-esteem.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of confidence and courage
identity.
to be
Do
yourself.
not take the other person for granted. Just because she's your wife, she has an opinion. Okay, whether it is buying a car for the house, or whether it's which movie you want to watch that day, or what food you want to eat, or what clothes she wants to wear. Everything, she has an opinion, and that should be respected. You don't take for granted. In India, no, it happens that the woman doesn't have a voice. Okay, the man only decides whatever it is. It's never a joint decision. So I think if we start working on the marriage with not the idea that, okay, theek hai yaar, shaadi kar leti hu. If it doesn't work out, divorce is always an option. It shouldn't be like that. That should be your last option.
It shouldn't be either extremes.
Yes, it shouldn't be that way, because it is, you've decided to spend, it's a big, what all thoughts you need to think, not even go. I know the traditionalists will not like it, but then I feel if you really need to stay with that person, please go and stay for some time before you actually, propose, or before you say I do, But don't just break up marriages, because when you break up a marriage, it's not just two people. It's lots of people involved. There are breakups everywhere, hearts breaking, tears flowing. So we need to really, relook at this whole thing.
Right. So, Ghazal, any thoughts on how separation has evolved in the past decade, and any particular markers for therapists?
Yeah. So, very interesting question. We are, I think, very rapidly catapulting into an era where we see people wanting to make very different choices about their own lives. And it's also an era of cusp between traditionality and wanting to live their own independent lives. Because the traditional mindsets, fears, inhibitions of log kya kahenge, what will happen to me, especially hit women much more, because everybody has not evolved, or everybody has not moved ahead in society towards that mind shift equally, right? So a large section of people still, yes, and probably their families, deep down there are a lot of biases which people have a lot of modern education. They've traveled the world, but these mindsets and beliefs are very, very sort of rural, traditional. Not traditional. Traditional is not a bad word. I think it's outdated belief system. They don't hold value anymore. But the fact is that we want to progressively look at probably the West. We want to look at the media and follow it. But the enablers around you have not moved at that same pace, and that's the confusion that comes in. You take that step of saying that no, I don't think I'm happy here. One is without understanding your own self, right? uh, a lot of times youngsters are thrust into marriage for reasons which they are probably never happy about. It could be parental pressure. Still, to a large extent, parental pressure is the reason people are getting married. It could be just the biological clock. It could be just peer pressure. All my friends are getting married, cousins are getting married. I'm the only one who's not married as yet. What will happen to me? Or it could be just the fear, like I said, the fear of missing out. But it is a lot of times people say I found the right person without having to understand their own self, right? And that process has to be ingrained through education, through a lot of self-awareness, through the practice of yoga, meditation, which has to be made part of our life from a very young age. We need to understand what is it that I want, right? And then I need to find a partner who either syncs with me or will be in complement, a complement will complement my life, not complete it. That's, I think, again, an outdated thought process, but will complement my life in a lot of ways. So there is a lot of rapid shift. We are now moving from not just nuclear families, from joint to nuclear. Now we are going into a single person family, right? Single person is a family by themselves. They don't have a probably family unit around them. So it will create a lot of confusion. It will create repercussions which we can see as a modern society now. But in the next 20 odd years, it is estimated that every second person would be a separated, divorced, or not married person. So that is the repercussion that the next generation will probably have to look at relationships with a lot of fear, with a lot of mistrust, and saying, this is not going to work. Anyway, my parents got separated, my family members or someone got separated. I'm not even going to go that way. Who's going to bring back the trust that while, okay, marriage is not everything, but then a relationship is. Why are so many people on dating sites? Why are so many people on social media? Why are they constantly on WhatsApp? Is because we inherently have a need to connect. And those connects are sort of misguided right now. We want a relationship, but we don't want the commitment. We give the commitment, but we get into it with the emergency exit inside, which is a divorce, a breakup. So I think we are going through a lot of confusion. But then, like how you churn the ocean, with the confusion, with the churn, will come up a lot of difficult and emotions that have to be processed through using techniques that Fharzana, does the healing and the meditation and the yoga. A lot of people I know whom we have recommended to experts like her have really truly benefited from that to reach a place of balance. So that's my answer.
Right, right.
Thanks, Ghazal, for that. Yeah.
Any parting thoughts on the same? Yoga always speaks of samatvam, which is balance, equanimity, and not only about families that go through separation, but I think in many cases, say, like single child families where they do not have siblings, sometimes, probably could feel a little more entitled, or they do not feel enough sort of support coming from their same age group, maybe, or even children born out of a wedlock, which is also trending these days and popularized by the celebrities. So, any thoughts on that, Farzana? Like, how do we restore the balance that nature naturally shows us?
Yeah. So I always feel that the biggest lesson anyone can learn from nature is balance. Whether you take the seasons, we have a spring, you have an autumn, you have winter, you have summer. So you have day, you have night. So everything, there's balance in nature. So I'm sure that yes, yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate. So that's what yoga is all about, equanimity. And if you would like a very medical term for it, it is homeostasis.
Yes.
So when balance, everything is very good. But I'm sure that when you look at the big picture, if there is a single child, there are children with both parents as well. So, somewhere there is a balance in the entire picture. But if you take individually, yes, I mean, it's not a general rule that every child who is single is entitled or is, not well brought up. But yes, there is a more tendency that if you're the single child, the entire focus of the parent, all their energy, the physical energy, the finance, everything is only on that child. So unless the child has been tutored well or taught well that no, you must have a sharing and caring attitude, or maybe the child has been with an extended family. You could be an only child, but at least living with grandparents and aunties and uncles, then know how to share and care for others. But if you're just living in a nuclear family and the only child, there is a tendency that you are going to be a little entitled, and you don't know what is sharing and caring. But that's where I think the parents need to really take care about that, because that's only the holistic upbringing. Because what you may feel now is only going. Life is a big boomerang, I believe. So what you put in now is always going to come back through your child.
Yeah.
So and it's good. So that's how it is. So I think that is something single parents really, and nuclear parents especially, need to really take care of how they bring up their child with the right value and not overindulge. Indulgence is good, but overindulgence can be absolutely fatal.
True, true. And maybe Ghazal, thank you so much, Fharzana. Sorry. So, Ghazal, maybe if you can take up the question on, say, children born out of a wedlock and, you know, being
Yeah.
brought up, their upbringing is solely dependent on the single parent who provides, nurtures, does everything.
So we've not always had, but we've had examples of that in the past as well. But they've always been. We know that there have been people who are far and few, and probably wanted to do it because they were very very wild and very different. But now I think it won't be called wild. It will be just called an individual choice. One is we have the world has room for everybody's opinions and personal choices. The It becomes an issue when people want to say that this is the only and the right way to do it. The right way to do it is for a child to okay to have one parent and to remove the other parent out. So just to give you an example, that is not the only way. It may be an exception in someone's life, but not always the only way to live. Well, when people decide to not have another partner and have children, it comes with an enormous amount of responsibility. Because that there is a lot of responsibility in also understanding that while I will be honest with my child that why I did this and that we are different than others, the children will grow up with certain amount of trauma, with certain amount of emotional imbalance, which comes because of not probably having the other side. So you cannot expect a 4-year-old to logically rationalize a 30-year-old's decision. That child will go through their own emotions of abandonment and feeling a lack that I don't have a papa and there's only mommy who's brought me up. So what really happened, right? Did papa leave me? Was I a bad girl, bad boy? Was I not good enough? What did God punish me for not giving me a father? Because they will see a lot of other children. So there is a lot of responsibility that someone has to take up to make the child understand that this is a different family. And I think that sense of responsibility comes with a lot of awareness, which is again instilled because of the practices that you follow. I think I have learned in these 10 years of being, you're separated and divorced, that the only and the only answer is self-awareness and your own journey of spirituality and healing. That's all that matters. If you step on to that road, it's not going to be easy. It will come with a lot of, it will come with its own share of pain and sadness, because you're now looking at somebody, your own self, whom you're not used to being honest and authentic about. So, I mean, like you were saying, what is it that I would like to tell people? That please take this opportunity if you're going through either difficult situation, or even if not, you have decided to be a very different. Please look at it from an opportunity to understand more about yourself. When you will be authentic and honest about it, when you will be aware, self-aware about yourself, you will be able to understand, what you need to change about the other people in your life, whether it's a child, whether it's a spouse, it's a partner, or probably lack of it. So I think finding that inner happiness, I would say, which is unhooked from any external source of happiness, is the only answer. Not that I have got to that space. Frankly, I'm not preaching saying that I'm right there. It's been a really amazing, at times a painful, very deeply disturbing journey for me also, to come to this point and say this. So I am also a work in progress.
Yeah. But nevertheless, I think the fact that you're here and speaking to us, I'm sure it's been rewarding at some level to understand your own self, and like you said, spirituality. So I think we're way past our time, but it was such an engaging conversation, and which is why I've taken the liberty to extend it quite a bit. I loved a few things that came up about, I think Ghazal, you brought it up about how to change the terminology from single parent to co-parenting. That was beautiful. And also about marriages, in how we say the cliche thing of you complete me versus you complement me. I think that was really amazing as well. And I think, Fharzana, what you spoke to us about bringing in like the biggest lesson of nature being balance, and how we can really embrace that in our own lives. That was great as well. There's just one question from the audience, and I'd like any of you to take it up. I think we have Shalini, who mentioned, I think it was related to one of our questions midway. Isn't once in a while ventilation of emotion in the form of anger good?
Okay, so I'll take this. Yes, you can vent out your emotions, but whichever method you want, you can express it calmly. Okay, you can even be angry for a short time, but you have to be vigilant that who is there in front of you when you are angry. Is it a child? If it's an adult, at least that adult will be able to handle it. If it's a child, it might just leave a scar on the mind of the child. So try alternate ways to express your whatever you need to express, instead of becoming angry. So use ways to express. Whoever you're angry with, please sit him or her down and give your point of view calmly, instead of just controlling yourself and then waiting till it bursts in anger. So just do it when it actually is troubling you. Don't wait for it one day till it comes till here. So try to, we are not asking you that you must keep it all pent up and don't release it, but please do it in such a way that it doesn't hurt somebody else. What you are vomiting should not scar somebody else.
Right. And if I may add just my 2 cents to this, my guru, who I follow, my spiritual guru, so he always said that what comes out of the mouth is more important than what goes into the mouth. Especially because there's so much being spoken about vegetarianism, veganism, and raw food, and all of this. But then that can get flushed out the next day. Yeah. Whatever you eat, whatever you consume. But what comes out of your mouth, like Fharzana said, can scar somebody for life. And that is probably a karma, if for those of us who believe in, which we might carry forever. So yes, I think in all, it was a very, very enlightening session for me. A lot of points to take back. very intriguing. Thank you so much, ladies. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, and big thanks to Fharzana. It was really a pleasure hearing her as well. So, and thanks to hellomyyoga team.
Please accept e-hug from me, and I'm sure that things will turn around and will become better. Praying for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, and for all the single parents out there, if you need any kind of support system, there is Milap for co-parenting. You can check out Ghazal's handle, and also Orange Ray Wellness, which Fharzana has founded. So they provide healing wellness at various levels. So please do reach out to these ladies, and there is
even us tell them about the upcoming workshop which we are having on emotional healing. The dates, the 3 days, it's on 17, 18, 19, and 3 days, and they can just see on hellomyyoga also. They can see it at Orange Ray. We shared the post. Those who have certain emotional issues that healed through the yoga therapy may please register themselves.
Yes. We'll have the details out on our feed. Please do check it out for anyone going through any kind of emotional trauma. Yes. Thank you so much. And to the audience as well. Thanks a lot for watching.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.